Good morning and welcome back to your last week of home learning before half term. This week, by popular demand, we're going back to poetry because lots of you really enjoyed the poetry writing a couple of weeks ago. And today, the poem for you to look at on the website is called If I Were a Leaf, written by a Chinese poet who was alive over 1,000 years ago, I think, Wang Qian. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. So that poem is on the website for you, If I Were a Leaf. And the grammar lesson today is all about the subjunctive form, which is not something we've talked about much in Year 6 this year, but it is something that is part of the Year 5, Year 6 grammar curriculum. And the reason you just heard a little snippet of Beyonce's song then is because Beyonce very cleverly uses the subjunctive form when she's singing If I Were a Boy. So If I Were a Leaf also uses the subjunctive form, and I said in my grammar lesson today, don't worry if you're thinking what on earth is the subjunctive form. Most adults will probably say the same thing. It's something that you use all the time when you're talking and writing without even thinking about it, but also we often don't use it when we're talking or writing. That's kind of become okay in modern English. So you sometimes hear people say, if I was a leaf. But today in your writing, I want you to try and use if I were, which is the subjunctive form, and write your own poem about what you would do if you were something different. So make sure you have a look at the grammar lesson for today first. Make sure you do the, have a look at the checklist for today because that will help you. I'm going to imagine if I were a cat. So you can choose something from nature, like a leaf. You can choose an animal. You could choose a household object. If I were, I don't know, an iPad. Or you could choose a vehicle. If I were a Ferrari. Something like that. Anyway, I'm going to go with cat. I'm going to choose an animal. And what I thought I would do before I wrote my poem is I was have a little bit of a sort of mind map, a little bit of a brainstorm up here. Hope you can see I've managed to find a better pen today. And I would think about all the things I know about cats, all the things that I think of when I think of a cat. So I have prepared a few ideas already. So for example, they go out at night, they're nocturnal. And they hunt. This is quite small up here, so I hope you can read it. They like jumping on high things. What else do cats do? They use their tails to balance, don't they, when they're walking on very high, thin places like the top of a wall or something. What else did I have written down? Oh yeah, I love it when you see cats sniffing the air like this and smelling food being cooked. So they can smell food wafting through the air. I'm just going to put air there. These are just my notes, like my mind map really. Sorry, I can't read my own writing. Look, sorry, I'm poking my head right into the camera. Oh yeah, I know something else, because I was thinking on the checklist it says about using your 5 senses, so they can feel the wind in their fur. You know when you see a cat outside and it's a windy day and all their fur is kind of ruffling in the wind. So I could think of lots more things to write down on my mind map about cats, but if I stand here doing that now, you're going to get a bit bored. So that's enough to get me going. So my poem is going to start, if I were a cat. I'm going to put a comma there because that's where the reader would pause, where I want the reader to pause. If I were a cat, so let me use some of my ideas from my mind map. If I were a cat, oh, I know something else I'm going to add up here. I love it when you watch cats stretching in the sun, you know, lying on a warm piece of grass or path or something. So I'm going to put that in my first verse or stanza. If I were a cat, I would. I'm going to use apostrophe D because I think it makes my line read better. But if you read it back and you thought, oh, it sounds better, I would, then do that. If I were a cat, I'd stretch lazily in, I haven't got space to keep going, so I'm just going to write it here, and feel, what would I feel? I'd stretch lazily in the sun and I'd feel, for now I'm just going to put the warmth on my skin. So that's my first verse or stanza written already, but after I've written a little bit more, I might go back to the beginning and reread it and think, I might use a different word for warmth. I might use a different word for feel. I might change some of the word order, or I might change some of the words around. So with poems, like we said before, it doesn't have to be perfect on your first go. Write down what comes into your head. It's your poem, it's up to you, and then go back and change things if you want to. I think in my next stanza I would need to start again with if I were a cat. All this is on the checklist, so that will help you. And then, do you know what I've done in this video? I've put on my reading glasses and now I can't actually read my notes because they're too far away. So that's why I'm having to peer like this, sorry. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say next. I was going to talk about my tail. If I were a cat, what did I say? My tail would help me balance, and I'd saunter daintily along high places like a gymnast on a beam. So I've even managed to get a simile into my poem. So that's how I would begin my poem. Have fun with that today. Remember, use the subjunctive, like Beyonce, and choose something you would like to be and have a go. See you tomorrow. Bye.